Welcome to Reread, where I'm rereading through the expanded universe in chronological order. And now comes the unfun part, Star Wars Tales. I'm taking all of these short stories. I wrote little notes for me to keep up with them. I'm going to try to do these in, issue order as best I can. You can read these in any order you want, or you can skip them all, or most of them, and they're going to be pretty good to skip. The first two, I should mention, is in Star Wars Tales number 3. It was the death of Captain Tarples. Tarples, this happens right after Jar Jar crashes the boss's Hippoglyber, and Tarples is escorting him from the city, but Tarples gets knocked out, and while he's knocked out, Jar Jar saves his life. Well, the whole joke is, at the end of this, Captain Tarples goes, "Jar Jar, youse be the death of me." This is really hard to read because they're all speaking like Gungans, and it's really dumb. In fact, now that I'm reading this story, I think this takes place after some of the Jedi Star Wars adventures, Episode 1 adventures now, because I think the whole adventure of Jar Jar crashing the boss's Hippoglyber is in that last bit of the adventure. So if so, then the death of Captain Tarples will go after that adventure. But since I'm reading it in my original chronological order, I don't, yeah, but because he mentions it, Tarples mentions that, Jar Jar mentions it to Tarples and says, "Is boss still mad about the Hippoglyber?" He's like, "You know he is," or whatever. The second one from the third issue is called Deal with the Demon. And in that one, it's basically written by John Ostrander. This one's actually pretty fun. Villy is on a job to protect these two people and get them safe passage to their home planet. Well, it looks like Villy sold them out. And so we should have never made a deal with the demon, because he looks like a demon from their culture, a demon in a lot of cultures. And it turns out that was part of Villy's plan the whole time. He wasn't double-crossing them. You know, it's okay. He got them where they wanted. This one's okay. There is a really funny joke in it that I'd forgotten about. The girl's holding him she thinks he's betrayed him, and she holds him at blaster point. And he goes like, "Well, you think Villy do that? Do you think Villy's stupid or whatever?" He went, "You wound Villy." And she says, "Only if I miss." That's pretty funny. Pretty witty of John Ostrander. All right, so let's move on to Star Wars Tales number 3. This one is Yattle the One Below. Now, I remember this one very well, and I was excited to hear about it, how she came on the Jedi Council, her backstory 200 years ago. She got captured by this, ruler of a planet, this, he wasn't a king, he was just a tyrant. And somehow he captured her. Oh, she was a Padawan is what it was at the time. And in the scene, there's an interrogation droid that looks just like the one from A New Hope. So in 200 years, those things never got upgraded. That was kind of dumb. But she gets thrown into this pit, buried, and then forgotten about over time. Like, the people know that she's a prisoner, but they don't remember why. And I guess he's dead and gone, and his oldest son comes back to, look at all the planets his dad has conquered and left. And this is really dumb, because he says, "I've conquered everything, now I must go on to another planet. This planet's boring now." Okay, that's what you do, is just conquer planets one after the other. But his son comes back, at this point, Yaddle an earthquake has opened up her pit so she can get out, and she helps the people of the city and helps them in technology and medicine and stuff like that. And they're very prosperous until the son comes in and tries to take it all away from them. And then she fights the son, and he accidentally falls on his own knife on his own neck. Yeah, I guess. And so because of her years as meditating and fighting, she basically learned to become a Jedi Knight and should be a Jedi Master. Now, I don't know why all the other council members, everyone but Yoda, thinks she should be on the council. Yoda still doesn't believe it at the end. He went, "Well, but I'm outvoted here, and hey, if they vote you one, then you're one. Welcome to the council," was basically what he's saying. And I was thinking, yeah, I agree with Yoda. Yaddle does not deserve to be on the council. She was stuck in a hole for many years. Okay, was it 200, 100? I don't know. It sounds like it said 200, but I don't know, maybe this is a long-lasting species, but either way, yeah, she never finished her training. That's what Yoda's saying. They're like, "Well, she's done all this, and here's all her qualifications. She should be on the council." She just came back. Are you sure? So that is kind of weird. I don't remember, this time reading it this time around, I don't know if I liked it as much. I think I agree with Yoda's point of view instead of the whole council. And they still, I mean, even though they try to make the case that Yaddle should be on the council, they really don't do that good of a job. Also, the next one in number 5 is actually a pretty good one. It's called A Summer's Dream. This is Ian, the artist or whatever, and his story about he kind of, met Padme and fell in love with her, and they had this fling together, and then she was going to become queen, and she is stone cold to him, like, no, I must, my first love is to the Naboo people. And he's like, but Padme, he's yelling out, I love you, and she's like, I'm so sorry, this must be strong, go be with your family, because his dad was in the court of King Varuna, and now he's lost his all-public standing since King Varuna abdicated the throne. So I was like, man, makes Queen Amidala look mean. Cold-hearted. Of course, we're not supposed to like, I guess, the artist if you're Anakin, but it wasn't that bad of a story. I kind of rolled my eyes when I knew what it was about. At first, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. But it wasn't that bad of a story because he's fallen in love with Padme Amidala. And who didn't love Natalie Portman back then? I mean, I loved her. I thought she was great. So I could see what he was doing there. And he sets up, he kind of goes to the gardens where he knows she'll be, meets her, and then they become good friends. And more than that, I don't know. I thought it was a neat story. The next two are from Star Wars Tales number 7. First one's called Single Sail. Basically, Nim, who I love, is basically in a sail, and he's telling a story about his involvement with some bounty hunters. He got involved with these bounty hunters. He's going to get his revenge on them because I think he got left. I can't remember right now. I just read it too. I read all these together, but I think he got left, and now he's in this sail, but he knows eventually he's going to get out. When the torture people come, they introduce themselves, and he's like, do your worst. He's smiling. Okay, I get it's Nim, but it's not. If you haven't read the Starfighter, which Jedi, no, it's called just Starfighter is what it's called, not Jedi. But if you haven't read that comic book series, which chronologically it happens way later, if I remember right, I think it happens way later. But if you haven't read that series yet, then I guess you probably wouldn't be or feel that connected to Nim or not know who he is. I don't know, maybe you played the video game and you already know. Either way, it was good to see Nim, but the story was definitely forgettable. The next one was Jedi Chef or Pizza Hut, and I remember if I did review this one, I said, I don't know, and I'm going to say no. It's basically, it almost has some seriousness to it that Plo Koon and Micah from the Jedi Master Micah from the comic book, the Jedi Council, Acts of War or whatever, they go on a rescue mission, meet Korba the Hutt, and Micah suggests a cook-off, him versus Korba the Hutt's chef, and whoever has the best meal wins. And of course, Plo Koon helps Micah win by sabotaging the other meal. And it's almost like Iron Chef in a way. And the thing that I'm going to cancel it off on, besides it being kind of kooky story, because he does free him, his food's the better because Plo Koon sabotaged the other player. But one of the judges, in Jabba's court is an Ewok with underwear on his head. Yeah. You can't say that with a straight face. Trust me, this is my second take. Anyway, because of that, I said, no, that's too ridiculous. I'm going to say non-canon. And the title itself should say non-canon, but when I was reading it, I was like, oh, this seems kind of serious, but I never noticed the Ewok with underwear. It's clearly white briefs on his head. And that, nope, non-canon. That's why I'm put that status as. My next two come from Star Wars Tales number 13. And the first one is called Stones, basically a very short story about how Mace Windu, as a young child, found the purple stones for his purple lightsaber. Okay, nice, don't care. Number 13, these all involve, 13 was an issue devoted to Mace Windu, which was cool. That's a cool idea, because there's not many stories about Mace, but this one, someone breaks into the Jedi Temple to steal a baby, an infant, and Mace faces her down. It's a Zeltron, and he's like, you black market baby stealers, who do you work for, Black Sun, the Hutts? And she's like, no, I work for the parents. They want their baby back. You stole it from them. And so Mace has like a small change of heart, and he lets her go, pulls up the baby's file and deletes it like the baby didn't exist. I still think it is kind of weird, though, the Jedi, and he's talking to Depa, I think, at the beginning, explaining why they take the children strong in the Force should be going to them for their safety and whatnot. And he's trying to justify stealing children from parents, which, if you think about it, that makes them look really bad. So maybe Mace has a change of heart there. Number 13 was called Survivors. Mace Windu is tracking down the killer Uda Khalid, who has killed like thousands of people. And I guess Mace has just come there to deliver justice. He kills him. But Mace is, the whole time, the ghost of all his killers are surrounding Mace. And Mace Windu's getting his, I guess, making sure he never kills again. He plugs him through the heart, which is the smallest target on his body. But at least it is a target, he says. So, I mean, it's okay. Remember, this is just an issue dedicated to Mace. Oh, the next one is The Secret of Tatami. This is still in 13. And Mace goes on to retrieve a time orb that he placed there years ago. There's a little paradox there that he has to place it. He has to put it back or something. He has to take it because he was a Jedi that placed it decades ago. I did not know that there was time travel in this, but there is. So whether or not that would be, I don't know. I mean, technically, I guess it could be canon. The tales were never, not every tale was solidified canon, non-canon. A little bit of me wants to say non-canon because a time orb, that causes a ton of problems. So non-canon. I don't know. Can I really say it like that? The last two short stories are from Star Wars Tales number 14. This is Urchins. Basically, Anakin and his friends, little Annie and his friends, find an old lightsaber in Watto's workshop. It doesn't work. It only works for Jedi. Well, as they're looking at Sebulba's new pod racer, one of them accidentally drops the lightsaber into the engine. Anakin grabs it, and of course it flickers on for a minute because he has the Force, but he doesn't know it. So it flickers on while he's trying to get it out, and it severs some of Sebulba's cables, which causes him to wreck. Watto had to place a bet against him to get some money to pay off a hut, and it just so happens that Sebulba lost. Sebulba never loses. And because of Anakin's, accidental sabotage, Sebulba doesn't finish first, and someone else does, and so Watto gets tons of money to pay off his debt to the hut. Okay, whatever. And then the last one's in Star Wars Tales number 20, George R. Binks. I've talked about this. I remember this one. George's dad, he was a sea captain, and he shipwrecks on an island with his son, and his son is an idiot. And that's what he's saying the whole time. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. And he does not talk, the George R. Binks does not talk like a dad. It does not talk like a Gungan. Excuse me. He doesn't talk like a dad too because he really hates his son. His son is really stupid. He tries even to shoot himself in the head. This is kind of weird. So again, I think I'm going to call George R. Binks finally non-canon. All right. So that is it for this horrendous list of Star Wars Tales shorts. See you next time with a better video.